My mom sent me away at 15 to build her perfect family, so I built a life without her. When my success forced the truth into the open, her husband left and she was left completely alone, facing the cost of erasing her own child. Name's Theo. I grew up in a cookie-cutter neighborhood off the highway. My dad worked maintenance at the rec center 3 blocks away. He was always fixing doors, scoreboards, whatever broke that week. Saturdays we hit the hardware store, grabbed supplies, and worked on half-finished projects in the garage, like the crooked skateboard rack still nailed to the wall. He wasn't a loud guy and didn't give big speeches or anything, but he had this way of making small stuff feel steady. Like the voicemail he left me once when I was at a friend's house. "Hey, champ. Picked up the screws. We'll finish the rack tomorrow. Don't forget to grab your board from the yard before it rains." I kept that voicemail for years. When I switched phones, Mom kept it on her number. Dad died when I was 11. It was a heart thing. One day he was tightening a pipe at work. The next day, Mom was standing in the kitchen with the phone pressed to her ear, not saying anything. The funeral was quick and quiet. We're not a huge family, so only a few cousins came, along with some guys from the rec center and his boss. I remember the smell of the flowers more than what anyone said. After that, the house felt wrong, like someone turned the volume down on everything. Mom started selling stuff a few months later. "Bills," she said. I came home one day and the pickup was gone. His pickup, the one with the dented door where he hit the fence backing out once. She sold it to a neighbor for $2,000. I didn't say anything. Just stared out my window when the guy drove it off. It felt like watching somebody take Dad's shadow away. She packed some of his tools into boxes for donations. I grabbed what I could before she carried them off. His cap, the one with the faded blue front, and a thick black marker from the garage shelf that somehow still smelled like it did when he labeled coffee cans full of screws. I put them in a shoebox in my closet. For a long time, it was just me and her. She worked extra hours at the library. I ate frozen dinners or whatever she brought home. We didn't talk much. She asked about school. I said fine. And that was pretty much the script. 2 years went like that. Then Mom joined this gym across town. Zumba, spin classes, something like that. Suddenly, she was coming home with new energy, new songs on the car radio, and different groceries too, protein bars, almond milk, those tiny yogurt cups, the kind of stuff Dad never bought. One night, I heard her laughing in the kitchen, like full-on laughing, the kind I hadn't heard since before. There was a man's voice too, deep, a little too confident. They were standing close by the sink when I walked in to grab water. "This is Theo," Mom said, smiling like I was supposed to clap or something. He stuck his hand out. "Heard a lot about you, champ." I just nodded and didn't shake it. A couple weeks later, he was around more, bringing groceries, fixing the leaky faucet, teaching Mom how to use some app on her phone. He watched different TV shows than we did, crime dramas, home improvement stuff. Slowly, the old sitcom reruns Dad used to like disappeared from the DVR. Then came the little changes you don't notice until you do. The living room pictures got swapped. Fewer old camping photos, more of Mom dressed up at some restaurant with him next to her. There was a different brand of cereal in the pantry. The radio station stayed on whatever pop channel he liked instead of Dad's classic rock. Mom started smiling again all the time. New clothes, hair done different, humming while folding laundry. I wanted to be happy for her, I guess, but it felt like the house was drifting somewhere I didn't recognize. One evening she told me his name was Mark. She said he had a daughter my age and that they might come for dinner this weekend. She added it like it was no big deal. I didn't answer. I went to my room, closed the door, and pulled out the shoebox with Dad's cap inside. I sat there with the marker uncapped, the faint smell of old ink in the air, wondering how long before even this got donated. One day, my mom told me we were moving. There was no build-up, no discussion. She said we'd signed a lease on a bigger place across town, and it made sense for all of us to live there, like it was math, not life. I asked about our house. She said she'd already given notice to the landlord. That was it. Years in the same house, same cracked driveway where I learned to ride my bike, gone like nothing. The new apartment was on the second floor of a beige building with balconies that all looked the same. There was no backyard, no garage, no kids riding bikes outside, just a storage closet barely big enough for folding chairs. My room was smaller, beige walls, blinds that rattled when the AC kicked on. None of Dad's things fit right. The shoebox with his cap went in the closet because there wasn't a good shelf. I didn't unpack much. Mark, Mom's boyfriend, tried too hard from day one. He called me champ like he was auditioning for the role of Dad. He made a house chat before we'd even finished moving boxes and sent a picture of takeout burgers with first dinner in the new place like anyone cared. His daughter Emily was about my age, not mean, just there. She smiled too much and corrected me about everything. "We don't put shoes there," she said when I left mine by the door. "That's Mom's shelf," she said when I put cereal in the wrong cabinet. She was already calling my mom. Mom. It landed weird. That first week I went looking for Dad's fishing lures, bright spinners, old hooks, and a dented tackle box. They weren't in any box I opened. Mom said she donated them, thought they were extra stuff we didn't need. I asked if she was serious. She said it was a mistake but didn't look sorry and added that we didn't even fish. That wasn't the point. Rules showed up the same week. A printed paper on the fridge, quiet hours 9 p.m. to 7 a.m., and family dinner Fridays. There was a chore chart with our names on it, dishes, trash, vacuuming, like we were roommates instead of a family. Mark explained it all like a manager at work and said structure kept things running smooth and that it was good for everyone. I asked if I could eat in my room sometimes. He said family time was important. One night at dinner, I called him Mark instead of Dad like Mom wanted. He froze, not angry, just stiff. The air changed for the rest of the meal. The school drive was longer now with a new bus schedule. First week, I missed it because nobody told me it came 10 minutes earlier than the old one. Mark said I should have checked the website. Mom said I needed to be more responsible. I walked 2 miles that day because she couldn't leave work and he was busy. Emily told Mom later I scared her when I slammed my backpack down after walking home and said I was aggressive. I wasn't, I was tired. But Mom looked at me like she believed her. Family dinner Friday came with candles on the table like it was a holiday. Mark said grace even though nobody went to church. Emily talked about school. Mom laughed too loud at something Mark said about the weather. I ate fast and asked to be excused. Mom said I needed to participate more. I said I wasn't hungry. The next day the chore chart had extra tasks under my name, vacuuming twice a week now, taking trash out Tuesdays and Fridays. Emily had one job, unload the dishwasher. Mark had none. I didn't argue, just circled my name with the marker and went back to my room. Out the window, I could see the main road. 10 miles past those headlights was our old house, the garage, the half-finished skateboard rack Dad and I built, probably torn down by now. The apartment felt smaller every week, not because of the walls, but because every move I made got noticed. Emily had comments for everything. "You're chewing too loud," she said one morning when we both grabbed cereal. Another time she told Mom I closed my door aggressively. It was just a door.
Even music through my earbuds wasn't safe.
"We can still hear it," she said from the hallway like I was blasting speakers. Mark gave little speeches whenever she complained. He'd stand there with his coffee like a coach after practice. "Attitude's contagious," he said once after Emily told him I didn't say good morning. I didn't reply. Later I heard him telling Mom I was shutting everyone out, like I was some broken vending machine they couldn't get snacks from anymore. I started eating in my room whenever I could. It wasn't even allowed, but it was better than another dinner with chore charts and lectures about respect. Emily complained about that too. One night I walked past the kitchen and heard voices low but clear enough. Structure could help him, Mark was saying. Stanton Academy has that boarding program. Good teachers, tight schedules. He can focus, learn some discipline. Mom asked something I couldn't catch. It might reset things, he said. Reset like I was some computer freezing up. I didn't stick around. I walked back to my room so they'd know I heard it. A couple days later, my phone buzzed with screenshots from a friend. Emily had posted some story with a moody black and white filter about toxic energy at home, a few lines about how some people make everything harder than it needs to be. People sent her heart emojis and "you got this" messages. She didn't name me, but she didn't need to. I didn't text her, didn't ask why, just turned my phone over so I wouldn't see any more replies pop up. Then the voicemail thing happened. After Dad died, I saved this one voicemail he left a week before he passed. Nothing big, just him reminding me about screws for the skateboard rack and telling me not to leave my board in the yard if it rained. It wasn't even on my phone anymore. Mom had it saved in her account because she never changed numbers. Sometimes I played it when the apartment felt too loud just to hear his voice for 20 seconds. That week I opened the app. The inbox was empty. Mom said Mark switched carriers because the old plan was too expensive. I asked where the backups were. She said there weren't any. Mark said it's just a voicemail. I didn't reply, just shut my door harder than I meant to, hard enough that a small crack formed by the hinge, barely there, but Mom stared at it later like I put a hole in the wall. That night she knocked on my door. "Emily says she's scared when you slam things," she said. "Emily can stay out of my room then," I told her. Mom sighed like I was the problem keeping her up at night. A week later, some relatives came for my uncle's birthday. The apartment was full of voices and paper plates. I stayed in my room until someone called me for cake. When I came out, a cousin joked I was the moody one. I didn't laugh. In the kitchen, I heard Mark talking to one of my aunts about Stanton Academy like it was a college brochure. Great reputation, kids come back more focused, teaches responsibility. She nodded while looking at me like I was already packing my bags. After everyone left, Mom put a manila folder on the table. "Application's done," she said. "We're just waiting to hear back." It wasn't a conversation, not even eye contact. Mark sat next to her like they were giving a presentation at work. Emily sat on the couch scrolling but kept glancing at me when she thought I wouldn't notice. I looked at the folder, big logo across the top, Stanton Academy Boarding School. "So that's it?" I asked. "I don't live here anymore?" Nobody answered. Mark looked like he wanted to say something but didn't. Mom finally said, "It's for the best." Emily kept her eyes on her phone. I went back to my room and shut the door quiet this time. I sat on the bed, staring at the shoebox with Dad's cap inside. I thought about the voicemail that was gone, the fishing lures she gave away, the chore chart with my name written 3 times more than anyone else's. The folder stayed on the table all night. Next morning, it was gone. 2 weeks later, we drove to Stanton Academy Boarding School. The place sat on the edge of town, brick buildings with white trim, a big sign out front like a college campus. Kids in matching sweatshirts walked between buildings carrying backpacks. It didn't look like punishment. It looked like somewhere parents sent kids they didn't want to deal with at home. We pulled up to the dorm building. Mark parked while Mom gave me this speech about new beginnings. Emily stayed in the car with her headphones on like she couldn't care less. Inside, a staff lady in a Stanton polo handed me a packet with rules, schedule, and a map. Curfew 9:30, phones collected on weekdays after 10, no leaving campus without permission.
Room 214. My roommate was already there, unpacking a duffel bag. Jamal, taller than me, track jacket, easy grin. He nodded like we'd already met.
"You run?" he asked, pointing at my sneakers. "Sometimes," I said. "Coach Reed's always looking for sprinters," he said. "Tryouts next week." I didn't answer. The room had 2 beds, 2 desks, 2 small dressers. Windows overlooked the parking lot. It smelled like cleaner and something old underneath it. Mom set my bag on the bed. "This will be good for you," she said softly. I didn't look at her. Mark told me to make the most of it. Emily stayed in the hallway scrolling her phone. I walked them to the car because the staff lady said I had to. Mom hugged me like she was leaving me at summer camp. Mark shook my hand like a coach after a game. Emily said nothing. Then they drove off, and it was just me standing there with the packet of rules and a key to room 214. Stanton ran on schedules, wake-up bell at 6:45, breakfast 7:15, classes 8 to 3, sports or study hall after that, dinner at 6, lights out 10:15. Weekends had activities posted on the dorm bulletin board, hiking trip, movie night, chess club tournament. Jamal showed me the cafeteria the first night. Long tables, food that looked like school lunches everywhere else. Chicken patties, tater tots, apples, and metal bowls. "Better than it looks," Jamal said, grabbing 2 apples. I sat with him and a couple guys from the hall. "This your first semester?" one asked. "Yeah," I said. They nodded like that explained everything. Classes started Monday. Stanton had regular subjects, but with teachers who acted like college professors. No yelling over kids, no chaos like public school. Miss Park taught English, quiet voice, glasses, gave assignments and neat handwriting on the board. First day, she said we'd keep journals but didn't care what we wrote about. "Use it or don't," she said. "I'm not grading feelings." I liked that she didn't push it. Math teacher was different. Mr. Blake ran class like a drill sergeant, assigned problems, timed quizzes, called on people fast, said college wouldn't wait for anyone. By the end of the week, I had a locker, a class schedule, and a list of dorm chores like sweeping, hallways, and wiping down tables after dinner. It still felt like punishment, but at least nobody lectured me about my attitude every 5 minutes. Phone time was strict. 1 hour after study hall in the common room, no calls after 10. Mom sent long texts about how proud she was. I answered with yeah or okay. If she asked about classes, fine. Food, fine. Making friends, yeah. She sent heart emojis. I didn't answer those. Jamal dragged me to track tryouts the next week. Coach Reed had a whistle and a stopwatch and barely spoke full sentences. 400-meter, he said, pointing at the lane. Go. I hadn't run like that in months. By the second lap, my legs burned, lungs tight, but I finished middle of the pack. Reed looked at his stopwatch, then at me. "You're running again Thursday," he said, not a question. Jamal grinned. "Told you." Weekends at Stanton were different. You could stay in the dorm or sign up for activities. I stuck to the dorm at first, walked laps around the path near the soccer field, found the library in the makerspace in the basement where kids built model cars and painted signs for events. An old longboard deck leaned against the wall in the makerspace, grip tape peeling, paint scratched up. I asked the supervisor if it was junk. "Take it if you want," he said. So I did. I spent 2 Saturdays sanding it down, painting it black with leftover paint from the art room. Jamal came by and said it looked brand new. Thanksgiving came fast. Mom texted asking if I was coming home. I told her no. She said the whole family would be there. I told her I was staying with Grandpa and Grandma instead. She sent 3 dots like she was typing, then nothing else. Grandparents picked me up with their old Buick. Pancakes waiting at their house, the kind with crispy edges like Dad used to make. Grandpa gave me a small box from the garage, one of Dad's old pocket knives he'd found in a drawer, and said he figured I should have it. We didn't talk about Mom. We didn't talk about Mark. They asked about school, the team, classes. I told them about Coach Reed's stopwatch, about sanding the longboard, about Miss Park's journal assignment. Grandma packed leftovers when they dropped me back at Stanton and slipped a note in the bag that said, "Proud of you." Second semester started. I kept running track, kept up with classes, kept the longboard leaning by my desk. Jamal said spring meets were coming. Coach Reed timed me twice a week. Mom kept texting. I kept answering one word at a time. The apartment felt farther away every day, like it wasn't even mine anymore. By spring, I'd gotten used to Stanton's routines, classes, track, dorm chores, lights out. It wasn't home, but at least it was predictable. Then Mom showed up unannounced one Saturday. I was coming back from the gym when I saw her car near the admin building. She stood by the fountain, with a gift bag in her hand, like this was some holiday. "Theo," she said, all smiles. I stopped a few feet away. "You could have told me you were coming. I thought it'd be a nice surprise." "For who?" I didn't ask. We sat on a bench. She asked about classes, the track team, the dorm food. I answered in short sentences, "Fine. Yeah, it's okay." She kept talking like I was giving her more than I was. After 10 minutes, she said, "I miss you at home." I stared at the ground. "Home? You mean Mark's apartment?" Her smile got tight. "It's still your home, Theo." "No," I said, "it's yours." She started to say something else, but a couple of my teammates walked past and waved. I waved back. Mom noticed they didn't stop to talk. "I can pick you up for Easter," she said quickly. "I'm staying with Grandpa and Grandma," I told her. Her shoulders dropped like she didn't expect that. She gave me the gift bag anyway. Snacks, socks, some body wash, stuff I didn't need but couldn't refuse without looking ungrateful. When she left, she hugged me. I didn't hug back, not really. That night, I got a long DM from Emily. First time she'd messaged me in months. "Hey, I wanted to tell you something about before you left." I didn't answer right away. She kept typing some of the stuff I told Mom about you. I might have made it sound worse than it was. I read it twice. I just wanted her to listen to me. "I felt like you got all the attention after your dad died. I shouldn't have done it." "Okay, I'm sorry." I put the phone down. 10 minutes later, another message came. "I didn't know she was going to send you away. I just wanted her to stop ignoring me." On Monday, Grandpa called the dorm phone. "We've been talking," he said. "If you want to live here full-time after the semester ends, we can make that happen." I didn't answer right away. I kept looking at the longboard leaning against the wall. "You'd have your own room," he added. "Your grandma already measured for a desk." I told him I'd think about it, but I already knew. At school, track season started. Coach Reed put me in the 400 meter at our first meet. Jamal ran the 200. We both placed in the top 3. "You trained like this all summer," Reed said. "You'll be faster next year." It felt good hearing that, not because I cared about running before, but because it was mine now, something that wasn't about Mom or Mark or Emily. Mom started texting more after her visit. "You seemed quiet. Are you upset with me?" "Mark wants to know if you'll be home in June. Emily misses you." I kept answers short, busy with practice, staying with Grandpa. "Tell her hi." She started sending longer messages, stuff about how hard it was when Dad died, how she was just trying to hold things together, how families go through rough patches. I stopped reading after the third one. 2 weeks later, I saw Emily had posted something online again, a picture of herself with the caption, "Working on myself like she was the only one with problems." Comments underneath said, "You got this girl and proud of you." That night, another DM came from her. I wasn't lying about everything, but yeah, I made it worse than it was. I just wanted Mom to pay attention to me again. I stared at the screen, finally typed, "You got what you wanted. Congrats." She didn't reply. Grandpa picked me up one weekend to show me the room they were fixing for me. Small, but the desk fit against the wall under the window, bedspread with blue stripes, closet half full of boxes he promised to clear out. "You'd start here in the fall," he said. "We'll handle the paperwork." Grandma made sandwiches. They didn't ask about Mom. When they dropped me off Sunday night, Grandpa said, "Think about it, but don't take too long. School needs to know." I said, "Okay," but my mind was already made up. Mom showed up again in April, this time with Mark. He stayed near the car while she came to find me outside the dorms. "We heard you might move in with your grandparents," she said. I didn't deny it. "You don't have to do that," she added. "Things are better now. Emily told me she exaggerated some stuff. We can fix this." I shook my head. Too late. She looked like she wanted to argue but didn't. "Your father wouldn't want this distance between us," she said finally. I almost laughed. "You think he'd want me living with Mark?" She had no answer for that. End of April, the paperwork got signed. I was finishing the semester at Stanton, then moving in with Grandpa and Grandma for good. At the last home meet, Coach Reed handed out times on a clipboard. My 400-meter was better than the first one of the season. Jamal punched my shoulder and said we were going to crush next year. Grandpa came to watch. Grandma brought sandwiches for after. Mom wasn't there, neither was Mark. Emily posted a selfie that afternoon with some friends at the mall. Caption said Family Day. I closed the app and didn't open it again. Semester ended on a hot Friday in June. Kids were dragging suitcases across the dorm parking lot. Parents loading up cars, coaches yelling reminders about summer practice. Grandpa pulled up in his old Buick. He and I carried my stuff out in 2 trips. Jamal gave me a handshake and told me to keep running over the summer. Coach Reed nodded from across the lot. That was his way of saying goodbye. Mom and Mark weren't there. By Saturday morning, my room at Grandpa and Grandma's was set. Bedspread tucked tight, desk under the window, longboard leaning against the wall. Grandpa moved the last boxes out of the closet so I had space for clothes. Grandma stuck a calendar on the wall with the first track meet circled for August. It didn't feel temporary, it felt like mine. Mom called 2 days later. "So, this is it?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "You're not even going to talk to me about it?" "Paperwork signed?" I told her. She went quiet for a second, then said, "Emily didn't mean to make things worse. She told me everything. We can start fresh." I looked around the room, the desk, the bed, the window cracked open with summer air coming in. "I'm good here," I said. She started to say something else, then just hung up. The next week, word about Emily's confession leaked to the family group chat. Someone must have told the wrong person because suddenly cousins and aunts were asking questions. Screenshots of her messages bounced around until half the family knew she'd exaggerated things about me before I left. Aunt Linda posted, "So Theo got sent away for nothing." Nobody answered her. 2 hours later, Mom sent a long message about family matters being private. Grandpa replied, "Then maybe handle them at home before sending a kid off." She didn't post again after that. Mark stopped coming around as much. Grandma heard from a neighbor that his car wasn't at the apartment most nights. When I asked Grandpa if he thought Mark was moving out, he shrugged. "Not our problem," he said. Summer practices started at the high school track. Coach Reed drove in twice a week to time me and a few other Stanton runners who lived nearby. 2 seconds faster, he said after my 3rd practice. "Keep it up." Running in the heat burned my legs, but it felt good leaving sweat on the track instead of words in an argument. Mom texted in July asking if I wanted to come to the apartment for her birthday. I told her I was busy with practice. She said Mark might not be there anyway. I didn't ask why. Emily sent me one more message mid-July. "Mom's upset. People keep asking questions. They think she overreacted." "She did," I typed back. "I didn't mean for everything to blow up like this," she wrote. "Too late now," I said. She didn't message again after that. Grandpa let me paint the old shed behind the house later that month. White paint, wide brush, 2 afternoons in the sun. It looked better than it had in years. He handed me a cold soda when I finished and said, "Bet that felt good?" It did. In August, at a summer club meet on the off-season circuit, Mom showed up without telling anyone. She stood near the fence holding a water bottle like she didn't know whether to wave or stay quiet. Grandma saw her and folded her arms. Grandpa kept looking at the field. I finished second in the 400-meter. Coach Reed gave me a nod. Jamal slapped my shoulder. When I walked toward the bleachers, Mom started talking fast. "You look so grown up," she said. "I'm proud of you. Maybe you can come by the apartment after this. Emily's not even there this weekend." I shook my head. "I'm going with Grandpa and Grandma." She tried again. "Just for dinner, we can talk." Nothing to talk about, I said. People around us could hear. She realized it and stopped asking. 2 weeks before school started, Grandma heard from a neighbor that Mark had officially moved out, took his stuff while Mom was at work, left his copy of the keys on the counter of the apartment we'd leased together. Mom posted a picture of the apartment sunset on her social media, with a caption about new chapters. No Mark in the comments, not even Emily. Cousins started liking fewer of her posts after that. Stanton sent my new schedule in the mail, classes, track meets, dorm events, but now I was a day student. Grandpa would drive me in the mornings until I got my license. When I told him thanks for everything, he waved it off. Your family, he said. Mom tried one more time before school started. Showed up at the house on a Sunday afternoon. We could try counseling, she said. Family sessions just once a week. Grandpa stood on the porch behind me. I'm staying here, I told her. She looked past me at Grandpa but didn't say anything else. Season starts next week, I added. That was it. She left without even going inside. First day back at Stanton, Jamal asked if I was living with my mom again. Nope, I said. Probably for the best, he said, tying his shoes. Coach Reed handed out the fall practice schedule, 5 meets, 2 invitationals, 1 regional. You hit your times, colleges start looking, he told me. I folded the paper and put it in my bag. End of September, we had a family cookout at Grandpa and Grandma's. Aunts, uncles, cousins, folding tables in the yard. Mom didn't come. Emily showed up late, stayed on her phone most of the time, left early. Grandma made potato salad. Grandpa grilled burgers. Cousins asked about track meets. Nobody mentioned the apartment. By October, it was clear Mom wasn't fixing anything. Mark was gone. Emily spent more weekends at friends' houses than home. And me, I was faster on the track, grades steady, room at Grandpa's house exactly how I left it every day. I didn't miss the apartment at all. Indoor regionals were in November. Dry air, echoing stands packed with parents, coaches pacing with clipboards. I ran the 400-meter like my legs were on fire, finished first. Jamal came in second for the 200. Coach Reed barely smiled, but handed me the stopwatch after and said, "College scouts here today. Keep running like that." Grandpa clapped so loud people turned around. Grandma brought hot chocolate in a thermos and made sure everyone in the row knew I was her grandson. Mom wasn't there. I saw her car in the parking lot when we were leaving, though. She stayed inside, didn't come out. 2 weeks later, Stanton held the athletics awards night in the gym. Folding chairs, banners, plastic tablecloths. Parents filled the first few rows. I saw Grandpa and Grandma right up front. Jamal's parents sat next to them, big smiles. I didn't see Mom. Coach Reed read names off a clipboard. Track MVP Jamal, most improved me. People clapped. Grandma whistled through her teeth. After the ceremony, a man in a polo shirt introduced himself. College recruiter. He said he liked my times, wanted to see my spring season results, handed me a card with a university logo on it. Grandpa grinned like Christmas came early. The next day I was walking to lunch when Emily showed up outside Stanton's main office. First time I'd seen her since summer. "Can we talk?" she asked. I almost said no but followed her to a bench near the parking lot. She looked nervous. "Mom's been saying stuff online," she said finally. "About you? About all of us? Really?" I frowned. "What stuff?" "She's telling people you cut her off for no reason, that you don't talk to her because you're ungrateful, that Grandpa and Grandma turned you against her." I just stared at her. "She left comments on Aunt Linda's page," Emily added. "People started arguing. Cousins are mad, it's getting ugly." Course she was doing that. Couldn't lose face any other way. Emily looked down at her hands. I told her to stop. I told her what really happened. I sent everyone the screenshots. "The DMs?" I asked. She nodded. "Everything I told you back in April, how I exaggerated stuff, how Mom sent you off before even asking your side. I didn't expect that." "She's furious," Emily said, "at me, at you, at everyone. But people finally know." That weekend, the big family chat with the cousins lit up. Cousins, aunts, even people I barely knew were calling Mom out. "You lied about Theo. You blamed him for your choices. You let Mark run the house while you pushed your own kid out." She left the extended family chat Sunday night. Grandma said, "Guess she didn't like the truth." By December, Mark was living in another city. Emily spent most weekends at friends' houses. Mom posted quotes about fake people on her social media, but fewer and fewer likes showed up underneath. Grandpa read one out loud at dinner once. "Sometimes the people you love betray you first," he chuckled. She's talking about herself and doesn't even know it. Winter break came. Stanton closed dorms, but I stayed with Grandpa and Grandma like always. Jamal and I kept running at the high school track when the weather allowed. College recruiter emailed Coach Reed asking about my spring schedule. Coach forwarded it to me with, "Keep your grades up, he's serious." I printed it and stuck it on my wall above the desk. One Saturday in January, Mom showed up at the house. First time since summer. "We should talk," she said at the door. Grandpa stayed in the kitchen. She looked thinner, tired. "I didn't mean for things to get this bad," she said. "Your sister turned everyone against me." I shook my head. She just told the truth. Mom shifted like she didn't want to hear that. We could start over. I looked past her at the car idling in the driveway. "I've got practice," I said. She opened her mouth, closed it, then walked back to the car without another word. Spring season came fast. First meet, first place again. Jamal broke his personal record in the 200. College recruiter emailed Coach Reed a second time. Grandma cried after the meet. "Your dad would be so proud," she said, hugging me tight. I believed her. I had a scholarship offer, full ride pending my final spring results. Grandpa printed the email, stuck it on the fridge next to my race medals. Mom sent one message after she heard, "Congratulations." Graduation came with folding chairs on the football field, names read off in order, kids tossing caps in the air. Grandpa and Grandma sat front row. Jamal's family waved from 2 rows back. Mom stood near the fence after the ceremony, alone. She didn't come over. I didn't go to her. The big family chat changed its name the next week. No more holiday photos of Mom and Mark smiling in matching sweaters. Now it was just family chat with Grandpa's picture as the icon. Mom wasn't in it anymore. Final meet of the season. College recruiter shook my hand after the medal ceremony. Full scholarship confirmed. Jamal got one too. People clapped. Grandma cried again. Grandpa slapped my back so hard I nearly dropped the medal. I saw Mom near the parking lot watching from a distance. She didn't wave, neither did I. The twist wasn't the scholarship. It wasn't even the family finally turning on her. It was Emily. She moved in with Grandpa and Grandma that summer and said she was done living with Mom. I didn't expect that. Mom ended up in that apartment alone while both her kids lived somewhere else. And for once, I felt like things were exactly where they should be.